Hey everybody, this is Troy from the Do-It-Yourself World and the Do-It-Yourself World of Electronics. As you know from my last video, I'm combining everything here for now. If you've come here from the Do-It-Yourself World of Electronics, this will be the full-length video. I'm just putting brief introductions on my other channels because this is the only one that is even slightly monetized. I have here two just randomly picked up batteries off my floor. Need to be recharged. I'm going to show you something really cool with any rechargeable batteries of any size or capacity. And I'm going to first cover some basics of electronics before we get into the actual project on my desk. But what I'm going to show you, summarize very briefly, is that we all know we can run a lamp, light bulb, LED, whatever. We all know we can run a lamp or a light bulb from a energy source. These are not to scale, but I'm just showing you things that are visually obvious. We can all light a light bulb with some sort of energy source. That we know. The energy will flow from the battery through the light bulb, and we need a return path to complete the circuit back to the battery. Alright, that's common knowledge. But let's toss in something that's really gonna get you to think. What if we throw in another battery that gets charged up in the same process? So we have energy coming from a battery through a light bulb, and another battery gets charged up at the same time. Now that is going to get some people to start thinking and get some people worked up. But I'm going to show you on my bench that this actually works. It's mind-blowing, the simplicity of it, the utter pure simplicity of it when you see what I'm about to do. But let's go on to some basics of electricity and electronics first before we get into this. Now, here's a circuit, very simple. The first example I showed you, where we have a battery powering a light bulb, a load, and we need a return wire going back to the battery in order for that to function at all. So we have a loop, a closed loop system, where the battery is powering a light bulb. And this is very common knowledge. Everybody knows this. We're all taught this in school and in textbooks and everywhere. Nothing wrong or surprising or exciting here. But what if we're to put another battery in the system after the light bulb, after the load, and that battery is charging from the same current? The electrons leaving the first battery is being discharged. The numbers on this diagram are opposite of how I speak, but let's say we have the energy leaving battery number 2 is discharging through the light bulb, okay, and entering battery number 1, which is actually charging it up at the same time, and then the wire goes back to battery number 2, as we all understand, closing the circuit. Some people right now are going to say this is not possible, and they're really going to be scratching their heads, and I did for a while looking at this. Now I've got another circuit I'll show you in a minute, but let me pause here and explain. We all know that electrons flow through the wires, alright? And we're all taught that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be transformed from one form to another. But one thing I want you to stop and think about, very interesting and important here. Let's go back to that first circuit. Electrons are flowing from the battery through the light bulb. The light bulb gives off light and heat. And those same electrons continue on the path through the wire and back to the battery. There are no electrons consumed, used up, or destroyed in the process of lighting the light bulb and giving off heat as a waste product. Very important to understand, no electrons are being used in this circuit. Electrons are flowing through the wires and passing back around. They're completing the loop in a circuit. The work is being done. I don't want to get it too scientific and too in-depth, but the heat is from the atoms being excited, and we perceive that as heat. As atoms start bouncing around more and more, we perceive that as heat. And photons are emitted, and we perceive that as light. Those are things that are a byproduct of the electrons flowing through the wires in the simple circuit that you see here. So why not just throw in another battery after the load, after the light bulb, and let those same electrons flow through the battery to charge it up? If you connect a battery to the load, there's a chemical reaction inside the battery, and the battery gets depleted over time as it powers the load. There is energy being transferred inside the battery, and a chemical reaction inside the battery that occurs, and eventually the battery becomes discharged. But those same electrons can be used as they're flowing through the wires on their happy path to perform an opposite chemical reaction in a battery that was discharged, causing it internally to become charged. Those electrons then pass on out unhindered and undisturbed and unused and return to the primary battery. This is very basic electronics here. And now here is a circuit, the same thing I showed you previously with the second battery, only to make it work we have to have a difference in voltage, a potential difference between the two sets of batteries. So now we have on the right side a set of batteries wired in series. This is two 12-volt batteries wired in series to give 24 volts. All right. Again, nothing unique here. On the left side, we have two batteries, two 12-volt batteries wired in parallel to give us 12 volts. Again, nothing I haven't shown and nothing you haven't done in solar power, solar panels, and wiring up batteries. And everybody in class hopefully should have taken a couple of flashlight batteries and held them together to get 3 volts. Two 1.5 volt batteries, you hold them together in your hand and you can measure 3 volts. Well, we're doing nothing different here. But we can run that same lamp off the potential difference between the two batteries. So we put on the right side we have 24 volts and on the left side we have 12 volts. The actual power going through the lamp is 12 volts, the difference between the two. But the really cool thing is that the electrons flowing from the batteries on the right will power the load, causing the changes in there and causing light to be given off and heat to be given off. But then those same electrons will flow out into the batteries on the left side, causing them to charge internally through their chemical reactions. And the same electrons will pass on through and complete the circuit. This is cool and exciting and really, really awesome. This is nothing new. It's over 100-year-old technology, but I'll get into all that in the next video to come. Here we have some 18650s. These are lithium-ion batteries, commonly used in flashlights, laptops. They're very, very common. These came out of modems. They were backup batteries from a modem. And I've got two different sets, two different colors to make it nice and easy and clear to understand. What I've done to start this experiment is I've charged this pair up to 4 volts, all right, each. All right, each battery is charged to 4 volts. And because I have to start out with a charged set of batteries on one side, but I had to discharge these batteries. Now my starting voltage and ending voltage, my charge voltage and discharge voltage to make this test not go on too long to complete. I'm starting with 4 volts charged, 3 volts discharged. Lithium ion can go for a much wider range outside those parameters, but I want to complete this test in a short time. So I'm considering 4 volts charged, 3 volts discharged. So I've discharged these to 3 volts, just under 3 volts. And I'm going to fire up the meter here, and we're going to show you. I hope that shows on the camera. All right, I hope you can see that. I got the meter on here, and I'm going to connect. These are connected together still in parallel, just so that way I could discharge them and charge them together. These are 3.031 according to this voltmeter, which is sufficient for our experiment today. 3 volts. Considered discharge for this project. These are this is my charged ones. and I had been messing with them, so they might be a tiny bit lower. 3.969, so that's considered pretty much charged. And we've got here 3.969. So really good. It also shows me that these batteries sitting overnight are still holding the exact same charge. So they're very much equal. These have been sitting since yesterday, since last night. So it's good to see that they're exactly the same voltage at rest, which means they're very much a matched set. That's very good. Now I'm trying to lay this out nice and neat so there's no doubts about what's what. I've got my one set of batteries here, another here. I've dug out an LED, USB LED lamp, and I put a USB socket on the end so I can hook it up to my alligator leads. It has an on-off switch right here, which I'll demonstrate that actually functions and there's nothing in there. And then I've got, just to see that this works without discharging my batteries, I have another set of batteries here. I'm just going to hook up one to show that the light works really quickly. Now this is a 5-volt USB light bulb, and I'm going to connect it to make sure I have my wires right. I'm going to connect it to a 3.7 volt battery, but for demonstration purposes we're just going to show that it lights up is all I care about right now. Alright, so I'm just hooking it up to 3.7 volts real quick. Make sure I got my polarities right. And this is just a battery for demonstration real quick. If I get that hooked up right, my polarities right, that I sure... Okay, and I have my polarity wrong. Okay, so I have a light lit dimly. It's not super bright. It's 3.7 volts. I'm just showing that this does indeed work. I've got a bad connection right here, but there's a switch, on-off switch. There's nothing hidden inside there. On-off switch. I might end up soldering these. Well, for long-term testing I will. But anyway, there's that. Alright, so the light bulb lights up when I connect the battery. Okay, so we got that. I'm gonna leave those leads on so I see what I know what's what here. Okay, I'm gonna take this battery out of the picture. That was just for demonstration. Light bulb works. Now this pair I'm gonna connect in series, so we're gonna turn this around. We want to connect the minus of one to the positive of another, and I'm not going to go into battery basics today, so if you don't know how all that works, and there's a lot of resources online for you to check out. Today I'm just going to do this. I'm hooking this up in series, so now we have 8 volts, plus here, minus here. Alright, and this is in my way. We'll come back to that in a minute. I've got my other set already twisted in parallel, plus to plus, minus to minus. Now I'm going to connect, this is what completes the circuit. I'm going to connect ground, the minus from the one set to the minus of another, but I'm not going to plug it in quite yet because that's going to be our main on-off connection right there to turn the circuit on and off, okay? Now, oops, I did that wrong. That's the minus here. I will be setting this up on a board. Alright, so we got plus through to minus, and that's our ground is going to go over here. Alright, so I goofed already on video. Now we got our plus here, which is going to go to the positive side of the LED. Alright. Now we're going to have 5 volts difference because remember these are 3 volts and these are now 8 volts because they're 4 volt batteries together in series, so now we have 8 volts. These are discharged to 3 volts. That's important. Alright, they're discharged to 3 volts. Now I'm going to take the negative of the LED lamps and put them onto here. The LED lamp, and put it on here. Alright, try to keep that from touching anything else. Notice I'm just running this wire down here to get it out of my way. Nothing secret, nothing hidden. Okay? Now, I'm going to hook up the voltmeters and turn them on so we can watch the battery voltages. I want to show the 8-volt battery here. Positive. And I just slide these up inside the rubber of the silicone casing of these clips. Oops. It's awkward. Try to do it this way. Everything's slippery with these silicone leads. Alright, now I'm going to turn this on. We should have 7.95 volts. That's acceptable. It's close to 8 volts. Alright, so now I just have the voltmeter on here showing the voltage of these. I've got the positive from the 8-volt battery going to the positive of the LED. I've got coming out of the LED the negative wire from the LED lamp going to the positive of the 3-volt batteries. Now this is where it gets confusing, but check that circuit that I showed you before. Okay, now I want to set up this meter to look at the voltage of the small batteries, the 3-volt batteries, and I'm going to turn this on. And I'm going to have to connect a lead here. When I connect it, this here, we're going to have light and everything. So I'm going to get another lead. I'm going to hook up the LED or the voltmeter to another clip so I can isolate this for you on video, so we don't have any confusion. Alright, there. That's the voltage of these batteries, 3.031. Alright, I don't know if you can see that, but we'll get to that. These are now 7.95 volts, and they're charged, and these I'm considering fully discharged. Now I'm going to connect the negative of the parallel batteries to the negative of the series batteries to the negative of the parallel. And the light lights up. Now check out the voltmeters. These batteries are charging. Alright. And these will discharge. Now I don't know how long it'll take to show a discharge. The light is fully lit up. Okay, the light is absolutely fully lit up. Does that show? Yeah, that one shows. I think you can see. Now, we're drawing power from this set of batteries, and that will go down. That will, there, it's dropping. We are discharging this set of batteries. We're powering a light bulb at full intensity now, because that's getting 5 volts. The difference between 8 and 3 is 5 volts, so that's getting a full 5 volts of energy now, of 5 volts. And these batteries, the electrons are coming from here, powering the load, and the same electrons come on through, charging these, causing a chemical reaction inside the battery. The electrons are not being used, they're just running through, causing a chemical reaction, and flowing back here, completing the circuit. Round and round and round. This battery set will be discharging. The exact same electrons are charging this battery set. Okay? 3.095. Now when I connect this battery does draw some energy from the battery, so it probably dropped after I turned on the meter. But you're going to see now it's 3.098. Alright, and these are at 7.80. Now it's a very low powered LED lamp. It's not a lot, 3.1. These are absolutely charging. And this has dropped, what, 1/100th of a volt. It will continue dropping and discharging. And these will continue charging until these batteries are considered discharged fully depleted, and or these are considered fully charged. So, oh, see, we're dropping. We are absolutely discharging these batteries here. We're absolutely discharging these batteries while lighting a light bulb, and the voltage over here is going up actually faster. Well, that's actually showing, this is a much more detailed meter. It's showing thousandths of a volt. I like this meter better, but it does, it's got pros and cons, but this is showing thousandths of a volt. So 3.11 now, 7.79. So we are definitely showing something very unique and unusual running here. Now I'm going to shut off the camera and I'm going to come back after a while. I'm not going to touch anything. I'm just going to pause my camera and we'll be back in a little while after I've let this run for a while, and we'll check the voltages. Now it's been, I think, 30 minutes. This is up to 3.29. This is down to 7.73. This will continue on for hours. The last experiment I ran for 10 hours before I shut everything down. Basically, these batteries are going to discharge while running the load, and these batteries will be charged up in the process, and these will get absolutely fully charged. The only loss in the entire system is in the battery chemistry themselves. We don't have any perfect batteries, and so there's going to be some loss in the chemistry of the batteries, and that's pretty much the only loss we're going to see in this system. And then for the next video, I'm going to then swap batteries around, but I'm going to let this run. This will take a long time. In the next video then, when this is all done, I'll take these and put them over here and put these over here, nothing else changed, and show that I can keep running without any added energy from outside. Now, a lot of you are going to ask, but what does this have to do with home solar power and off-grid homesteading? Everything. I'm going to show you later how to set this up with your solar power system at home. That is going to be big. But that'll be later video. Alright, this has been sitting a while. Let's see. I don't know, maybe an hour. 7.71, 3.35. That drops a bit because the meter sucks some power out of there. Anyway, I'm going to add some amp meters into this circuit. So this is the minus side. So I want to take... I'm going to lose my meters here for a minute. What I'm going to do... I'm going to take and shut them off. There's no point in having them on right now. I'm going to put the meters in the circuits. So I'm going to take the power coming from here and go through, see the plus side is here. Oh, that would be the minus side. I'm going to go through the meters. Alright, so we're going to first add this meter showing how much the load is pulling. And the meter is going to jump up, oh, hardly anything. Oh, that's not sensitive enough. Okay, I'm going to need smaller meters. I thought they'd be pulling. Alright, take this off. Bring this little guy in. It's not pulling much power. I might have to get a higher strength load. This meter is a little bit off, just so you know, to begin with. It's not precise. The more positive side is here. Definitely don't want to hook up your amp meters wrong. These have built-in shunts. Alright, now that meter, if you can see it, is going to jump up and the light's going to light again. Okay, now we're showing 125 milliamps being pulled from that bulb. So now we have a certain precise known amount of current being drawn from these batteries through the lamp and carrying on into the circuit. Alright, now I'm going to take and add another meter in here and show what's coming into these batteries over here. Alright, so taking from here, this side, I have to take this. I'm going to disconnect this one. I'm trying to make this easy on myself, but it's not easy when you're rewiring. So the positive side is here, so I'm going to take this wire off, the light's going to go off, and put it on this side here, the more positive side. Nope, that was wrong. That'll be the negative side. That's not good for a meter. That'd be the negative side because that's coming off the batteries. And then I'll take another wire and connect from here. And this is going to show the power going into the batteries being charged. I'm getting a little complicated on wires here. Now the light's going to kick on again. Turn this meter on. And then we're going to see if, yeah, we're about the same. Remember, this meter is off by a couple notches, so we got pretty much the same current going through the light as is going into these batteries. Again, remember I showed you this meter is off by 1.5, 2 notches on the scale. So it's the exact same power coming from here, going through the meter, through the light, and the exact same amount of energy is coming out and going into these batteries. There is no loss at all. I could swap these around, and of course this one with the messed up gauge will be over here with a little higher reading. I could do that now, just to show that there's nothing lost in the lines. Take this one here and swap it with this one here. Hope I didn't hook that up backwards. We're going to know in a minute. Yep, that's right. Now, I took the meter that was messed up and put it over here, showing the exact same power on both sides. Does that show up? Let me get the camera. Got about 107 milliamps coming through to run the LED lamp. And then coming out, we have again the same amount. Remember, that meter is messed up. It doesn't zero out. The same amount of power coming out and going into these batteries here. So we have the exact same energy, which is basic electronics. You all learned. Anybody who studied electronics knows that the power never changes in a circuit. So the same power coming out of here is flowing into the light, and the exact same power is coming out and going into here. The exact same power coming out of these batteries is going into these batteries. That is pretty cool. These are discharging, and these are charging from the exact same power coming through the circuit into the lights. Now for the next video, I'm going to let this all run down. It's going to take hours. I'm just going to let this run down. In the next video, I'll swap the batteries around and we'll see how much extra we can get out of it. Normally, without this half, normally we would take our batteries and run our lamp until the batteries were discharged, and we'd disconnect, shut it off, recharge our batteries, and carry on normally. In this case, I've got the energy going into a second set of batteries. So in my situation, instead of shutting off the lamp, I can swap the batteries around and keep running the lamp. Then, with some losses, I'll be able to do it again and again and again. And we'll see how long that can go. There will be some losses in the batteries themselves, because that's just the nature of the battery chemistry and how they charge and discharge. There will be some tiny bit of loss, but for the most part, we should be able to flip back and forth for a while, running the light longer than if we only had one set of batteries in the first place, like we normally run our circuits. That is really cool and exciting. And then I'll get on to a lot more complicated stuff and work our way up to showing how to do that with your home solar power. That should excite many of you. Please do like this video and subscribe if you haven't, because there's some cool stuff to come. Talk to y'all later.